I'm Jennifer Ross. I'm the PRO of the race. I'd like to thank you all for joining us on Zoom and in the clubhouse. We're going to go to Bruce Hedrick first on Zoom for the weather, and then back to me for the skippers meeting. So take it away, Bruce.
Okay, well, very good. So as usual, we always expect something different on Southern Straits, and this year will be no different. We have good news, bad news, and really good news. So all in all, it's all good. So now, basically this week, we've had it's been fairly crazy down here with just like today, all 4 seasons in one day. And that's because we've had a persistent low pressure system off the coast that has been interacting with a high pressure system inland in BC up there. And so the problem today is that we have a stalled occluded front over the race area. Now, the low associated with this stalled front is going to drift slowly inland and to the north, starting late tonight and into tomorrow morning. And this will leave a little bit of a gap in the isobars. And since there is very little to push this system around, it's just going to drift slowly to the east, but it will allow a weak onshore flow to develop late Friday and into Saturday. And this will hold until late Saturday into Sunday, when another weak pressure system will bring prefrontal southeasterlies into the area, but that's not going to be until Sunday. So the models are not in agreement about when this onshore flow tomorrow will start. And you can see in a pretty nice picture, satellite picture from this afternoon, clearing over the straits, had a nice northwesterly push in the straits over the race course, nice northwesterlies offshore, some clearing in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, but here's our frontal system here. In back of it is some very cold and unstable air, and that is what's going to make life interesting. The weather radar from this afternoon shows the remains of that frontal system breaking up, some cloudiness over your area and over Vancouver Island. And so basically the key here is that the surface charts for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show very little change in the gradient over the race area. So as I said, we've got this weak low pressure off of the coast of Washington, this occluded front over the race course dragging right down through the Strait of Georgia. And then by tomorrow morning, this will have drifted off, but you notice that we've got quite a gap in the isobars over the race course area. And this stalled occluded front is just sort of sitting there. Now we go out 12 hours and that stalled front hasn't moved very much, but the gradient has tightened up just a little bit. This low at 1014 millibars is pretty weak. And whatever that low is that's trying to come ashore in California really isn't having any effect on our weather. And then by the time we go to Saturday, then we start to see that that front, that occluded front, is still over the area and the gradient is still pretty wide, but the high pressure is starting to push in. This is what's going to bring the onshore flow down Johnstone Strait and down the Strait of Georgia, and that will occur late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And even so, it still won't be very strong, but it'll be enough to go sailing. And then by the time we get out another 12 hours, you can see that the gradient has tightened up a little bit. And so with that, we will get some onshore flow down the Strait of Georgia, and that's what will bring you home on the race course. And then by the time we go out to Sunday, here comes the next system out here. This is what's going to bring the prefrontal southeasterlies to the race course on Sunday. Hopefully everybody will be in by then. And they're not strong, at least not yet on Sunday. And then, so basically, the good news is no heavy weather for this race. I know Peter Salisbury spent a lot of time analyzing the weather from some years ago, but basically we're going to look for a downwind start, 6 to 12 knots out of the east-southeast. This will build slightly as you go across the strait. The bad news is by late afternoon, this breeze will ease and start to clock around to the west-southwest as an indication that that onshore flow is starting to develop and come down the Strait of Georgia. And then by early evening, the wind will become light and variable. The good news is that by around midnight, a north-northwesterly breeze will start filling from the northwest on the Vancouver Island side at about 5 to 10 knots. And that will hold through the evening and into dawn, into the early morning hours. The really good news is that from 0700 through about noonish, we're going to have 10 to 16 knots of west northwesterlies, which will get you a nice downwind finish at Point Atkinson. And so my crystal ball, looking at the fleet and looking at what the current weather conditions are forecast to be, if the goal of the race committee was to get everyone to finish about the same time, you probably nailed it. The TP52 should be in around the course in about 25 hours. Longboard will finish about an hour after the TP52. On the medium course, the J111s will be in about 11:30, Beneteau 40.7, J109s in about noon. And on the short course, the J30 should be in at about 1100 hours. So all lumped right together. So that is the synopsis for the race. Good luck, be safe, and have a great race.
Bruce, as Bruce said, we'll both be taking questions after my briefing. So welcome again to the Southern Straits Race Office. I'm Jennifer Ross, the Principal Race Officer. Before we get into things, I'd like to give a special thank you to our platinum sponsor, Navis Marine Insurance, for supporting this event like they do every year. I'd also like to extend a thank you to the Delta Lifeboat folks for joining us again on the course to monitor everybody's safety as well as provide in assisting for radio check-ins. And I can, John, if you'd like to come say some words about Delta Lifeboat. This is John Horton.
Thank you very much indeed. I just wanted to underline the fact that we're not only there to monitor the vessels as they're making their roundings as much as possible, but also we have full medical availability on board. If anybody needs any medical requirements, we have a medic on board and all the toy bells and whistles to go along with it. And if anybody gets into any other sort of trouble, please call the Delta Lifeboat. We'll be standing by on 16 and the race channel. We'll be standing by for the whole race, and we'll try and be patrolling somewhere in the middle of the race area. So hopefully we can get to anybody in a reasonable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and thank you to your crew. And following John's monitoring of 734 roundings, we're also, as mentioned in the sailing instructions, preferring that if you're calling in for your roundings, your check-ins, please use phone if you can, and we'll get the confirmation numbers to you as well through that method. Following on Bruce's really great weather briefing, I'm hopeful. We'd like to remind you to monitor Environment Canada and other wind systems online or weather systems throughout the race. Note that rescue assets are available, but are severely limited in heavy weather. And it sounds like we won't have much of that this year, but I'd like you all to know that if it's exceeding 35 knots, it can be a very long time before the Coast Guard gets to you. For NOR 13.1, we're going with a light ORC wind. At first, we will reevaluate through the race and possibly bump it up if we see sustained winds that would warrant that. This year, you may have noticed we're using a virtual finish line with a virtual pin at 300 meters from the staff flying the flag on the shore. The line is a transit from the staff on shore along 180 degrees true. If there's a question of the distance from the staff, the finish crew will be confirming the distance of boats crossing the finish line with a laser rangefinder, and it's accurate. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about Whiskey Gulf. This year, Whiskey Gulf is inactive. You can travel to your heart's content across Whiskey Gulf. The Coast Guard traffic channels this year will be on the other side of the strait, Victoria traffic on VHF channel 11. In the bay and out into the strait, it will be Vancouver traffic, VHF 1-2, and as you approach Sisters, it will become Comox traffic at VHF channel 7-1. Please monitor your spots. I know they can be finicky, but please ensure they are on. Please ensure you reset them at the marks. And the instructions are included with the skipper's kit, I believe. Every boat is assigned a spot tracker on the short, medium, and long course. In addition to the website tracker site, it is a safety device. We use it on the race committee to monitor boats. The Coast Guard also monitors the tracker to identify traffic on the strait, as well as monitor the situation of the race itself. Note that there's a lag in reporting. It's usually 15 to 20 minutes, but they do eventually update and they chug along. If a tracker stops reporting, we will contact the boat by radio. If we cannot contact the boat by radio, we will use the designated mobile phone number. If there's no response, we will radio and call the boats that were last in the area of the boat with errant spot to see if there's a visual contact. If there's no visual sighting from the fleet, we will call the Coast Guard. On behalf of the West Vancouver Yacht Club and the 130 volunteers who helped plan and deliver this event, thank you again for joining us. Have a safe and fun race this weekend.